All right. Hello, Second Take viewers. I'm Jake Rosen, and this is episode 50 of Second Take. We are going around the horn. Let's meet our contestants. First off is Jill.
Well, I'm Jillian. Y'all already know that. I'm here to redeem myself after losing pretty early in the last around the horn. It will not happen again this time. I'm winning it all. Don't worry about it.
Here's Anthony.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I've been on this show a couple of times. First time on Around the Horn. I'm prepared to start my dynasty of Around the Horn today, so just be prepared. Uh,
Next up is Anthony number two.
So, I'm Anthony. I'm back. I'm the defending champ of the last around the horn, so I'm here to take the champ again. So let's go.
And finally, Armand.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. My name is Armand, but today you can refer me to as Stephen A. Smith, Hugh Hefner, and Jesus. I'm like a combination of all of them when I'm talking sports. I'm about to redeem myself from the first round exit from the last around the horn. It's not going to happen again. You might as well call me the winner right now because I'm about to get this W. So let's get started.
All right. Armand hit it on the head. So let's get started. So let's start with deflated footballs. What's the big deal? Anthony?
is this one me or the other Anthony? I'm just checking. All right, yeah. Personally, I think the deflation was like the score at halftime was 17-7, and once all the balls were correct, like they were apparently of standard, the Patriots I think went on a 28-0 run in the third quarter. I think they scored 28 points and the Colts scored 0, meaning the deflation had not much to do with the game itself. So, I mean, is they're cheating? Yeah, but they can admit they're cheating, but essentially it didn't mean anything for the game.
All right, I feel you there. Armand?
Well, being a Colts fan, I had high hopes for us, but at the same time, I knew that we just wouldn't be able to beat the Patriots in the playoffs. Our run defense is not good enough for them. They ran up and down on us. However, I feel that the deflation of footballs was deliberate. I don't think it's right. I think the Patriots should be punished for it, perhaps a second or third round draft pick being taken away. Nothing extreme. I've seen some talks of a petition going around where there are 40,000 signatures for the Patriots to be removed from the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship to be replayed between the Colts and the Ravens. I think that's a bit extreme. However, regardless, I feel the Patriots do deserve some type of punishment for it. I feel it was clearly deliberate. It's not right. Can't go around just deflating footballs for games. But at the same time, my Colts are going to lose anyways. So.
All right. All right. Jill?
Okay, first of all, no, they should not lose their championship or be taken out of the Super Bowl. That is ridiculous. You have no proof to prove to me that this was deliberate, that they knew of this, nor did this impact the game. As Anthony said, they blew out the Colts. They were clearly better than the Colts. They were going to win that game no matter what. ESPN Sports Science did a sports science about the deflated footballs, and they said the fact it was raining would make a bigger impact on the ball than that small of a deflation. And I mean, every quarterback likes their ball differently. Brett Favre, there's videos of Kenny Mayne going and watching how Brett Favre get his balls prepared for the game. Everyone likes them different. So it's just his preference. And I think this was blown out of proportion, and Deflategate needs to end. Patriots are going to go on and do what they're going to do because we have no proof against them right now.
All right. And Anthony number two, what do you think?
All right. Well, first I'm gonna say you can just call me the champ instead of Anthony since we have two of us.
All right,
But
Jill.
I have a totally different take than all three of everyone else because you know what? If any other team did this, I wouldn't really care that much. I'd agree with everyone else that it's just deflated balls. It really didn't help. But it's the Patriots, and they're consistently caught cheating. They're consistently cheating. They're consistently doing things to get above every other team, and you can't just keep doing that without consequences. Yes, the Colts were blown out in the second half, but as you can see, momentum plays a big part in the game. And I think the deflated balls, if they did help Tom Brady get that third down conversion he needed that didn't give him a 3-and-out, if they did give him that third down conversion that they needed to score, that it could have killed the Colts' momentum. So we just don't know. It had to affect the game some way or another. Even if it wasn't big, it does affect the game.
All right. Though I gotta say, I think that they beat them they beat them the hell out of them, hands down. I don't know what else to say. There wasn't much momentum there from in the beginning. So at the end of this round, we're going Jill has 3, Armand 2, Anthony number 1 has 2, and the champ has 1. So
It's okay. Come back.
let's go on. Next is the Super Bowl. So who's going to win, guys? Jill?
All right, I'm going with the Patriots, and I'm going to tell you why. Russell Wilson is a very good quarterback, and I do not want that misinterpreted. But he is not a great and elite quarterback yet. Tom Brady is, and that shows. We know Tom Brady is. Yes, Marshawn Lynch goes beast mode, and that's great. But LeGarrette Blount is also an incredible running back, and he's so hard to pull down. This boy, he's huge, he runs fast, and he knows how to run the ball. I just do not see the Patriots losing this game. I think that, it's the Patriots dynasty. This could be the last time we see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and he's going to do all he can to win it. I just don't think the Seahawks can match up to the Patriots. I think it's going to be close, probably decided by a touchdown, but I'm going with the Patriots on this one, all in.
All right. The champ. Let's hear what you guys say.
Well, I think it's going to be really close because the Patriots are a great team, but I think the Seahawks will pull it out just because they seem to do well under pressure. And I think that all the talking and all the smack talking that's been going on, I think the Seahawks will pull it off. I think that Marshawn goes off. I think Russell Wilson has a great game, and I think Sherman has a pick. Bold prediction.
All right. Anthony?
Well, I hate to go against, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback of all time, and Tom Brady, but
Bold statement.
Yeah, that's just me though. But that's for another time. But the Seahawks they showed us when they played the Packers, time does not mean anything. They had 2 minutes, less than 3 minutes, and they were down by 2 full possessions. We're not talking a field goal and a touchdown. We're talking 2 touchdowns, and they pulled it off. They like pressure. They feed off of it. That defense. The Colts had no answer for LeGarrette Blount. It is not going to be that way against the Seahawks front seven. That's not happening. Like, they're going to stop the run in the beginning of the game and force the Patriots to win on their pass. And the Seahawks secondary is, I believe, best in the league. So I see the Seahawks winning.
All right. Armand?
I completely agree with Anthony. I don't think there's an offense in the NFL that can stop the Seahawks. The Seahawks are too focused right now. And, I mean, the Patriots, don't get me wrong, they're a phenomenal team, but they've had better teams that they've taken to the Super Bowl. This year, their receivers, they're not as good as they've been when they had Wes Welker, Deion Branch, Randy Moss, even Chad Ochocinco, even though he didn't play that much. I don't think the Patriots have the team to do it this year. The Seahawks are way too focused. Seahawks have proven people wrong time and time again. Everyone said they weren't as good as they were last season. Then they came and just destroyed the rest of the season. To beat the Cardinals, who looked like they were about to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. And in the playoffs, 44 seconds, they put up 2 touchdowns and ended up winning that game in overtime against the Packers. The Seahawks have just continue to prove everyone wrong, and they're going to get the W.
All right. Strong words by all. Right now, the score is Jill has 5, Armand has 5, Anthony number 1 has 4, and the champ is lagging behind with 3. And now let's talk about the NBA All-Star Game. So the stars were just announced. No Durant, no Chris Paul, no James Harden, who's leading the league in scoring. What do you guys think? Let's start with Armand this time.
I mean, it happens. The current starters like Steph Curry, Steph Curry's had a better season than Chris Paul in my opinion. Durant's been hurt a lot of the season, so and I mean he stepped his play up, but I don't really think he deserves a start right now either. James Harden's had a pretty good season. I think he's one of the top MVP candidates, so I'm a bit surprised by the fact that he's not starting. But I think regardless, the West is going to beat the East. I mean, the West just has better players in my opinion, and I'm completely satisfied with the West starting lineup. But it's definitely shocking to see those guys out. But at the same time, you have to gauge who's having a better season. That's what the All-Star game is all about. Who's the best leading up to the All-Star break? And right now, it's Steph Curry and the rest of the starting lineup.
But what about Kobe? Kobe's a voted All-Star starter. He's having probably the worst season, one of the worst seasons of his career.
I mean, it also has to do with it has to do with fans voting, but it also has to do with how they're playing. I mean, Kobe's always going to get voted in regardless, and I understand why people kept Chris Paul and Durant out because
Jill wants to talk. I'm cutting you off, Armand.
Yes. Okay. Wait. One thing about the last time: did the Seahawks win or did the Packers lose? Anyway.
No, stick to the topic.
I am. Okay. Don't yell at me, Jake. Okay. I see something wrong with James Harden specifically being left out. As we said, he is going. I talked about it every week. He is going off this season, and nobody can argue against that. I understand there are going to be some people who are going to make the All-Star game no matter what. Kobe is going to make it. LeBron is going to make it. It doesn't matter what they're doing that season. They could have 0 points the whole season, and they're still going to make it. Carmelo made it. That's where I'm not so happy about, all right? We all know how bad the Knicks are. But he's still going to make it because he's Carmelo. And, that happens. So we all know Kobe's out, which is very sad. So he will not be in that starting lineup. Otherwise, the West is stacked. We know this. The West is always going to beat the East in the All-Star game because they're just so much better. But I have a problem with James Harden being left out. I have a problem with Kevin Durant being left out. I understand that he did not play that much this season, but it doesn't matter. Chris Paul being left out. I mean, Blake Griffin made it because the Clippers are a great team, but to leave out those three guys is disrespectful. And I understand you only have, 5 positions, but, I mean, you can't discredit somebody's season just because, they were out for a little bit. I mean, James Harden especially has gone off this season. He had, 35 points in the last game?
Yeah.
Leaving him out of this is unbelievable.
All right. Good points. Let's go with the champ.
All right. Well, with the All-Star game, I think I agree with Armand really, and I am kind of sad that James Harden. I think he should have been in the starting lineup because he is having an amazing season. I do agree with Jill on that. But again, I feel like we have to kind of look at the NBA right now. As of right now, it's a new era, and the new young players are on the rise, and they're doing way better than the older players who we've been used to seeing in the All-Star game. So the NBA is just changing. You saw it in the NFL a few years ago. You're seeing it in the NBA now. It feels to me like 2000, 2001 when Malone and all of them were retiring. So I'm glad to see all the young guns in, and I'm glad to see what they're about to do. And I think everyone who got a starting position deserves it. And I think there were some snubs, but that's what happens when there's so much talent in the NBA this year.
All right, Anthony.
Yeah, that last point was a great point. I was going to mention it, but you can't. There's always going to be discussion when you're picking 5 players of a whole conference. We're talking 16 NBA teams in one conference, and we're picking 5 of the best players in that conference. There's always going to be debate about who should be where. Personally, James Harden is number 1 for the MVP, is number 1 in MVP ranking right now, and I think there's no reason why he should not be a starter. I mean, yes, it's also the All-Star game is also a popularity contest, but at the same time, you have to applaud greatness, and he's on the verge of winning the scoring title and possibly an MVP. Also, an interesting topic for me is how the Atlanta Hawks haven't had any starters when they have the best record in the East and they've been dominating the West. I think they have the best record against the West, and that team has 4 legit players that I could see starting in place of all the other people. Who else? Kevin Durant, you have to look at it. He did miss some time. He is great. He's not going to not make the reserve list. He's going to make the reserve list, but still, there's always going to be debates and discussions about who's in and who's out. So you can't get mad when some player doesn't make it in, because essentially there's billions of other people in the world that are voting. It's not just people in your area. So
very good points. Very good points. I really like that ending. But right now our leaderboard has Jill at 7, Armand is at 6, Anthony has come back to have 7, and the champ is bringing up the rear, but he's tied up with Armand at 6. Now, next topic, the college football playoff changes. So let me know what your thoughts. Let's start with Jill.
Well, okay, we have talked about this college football playoff. It was great. It was fun. It was all of that. but there was so much drama surrounding who is making that top 4 that, I mean, and TCU proves it in their bowl game. They proved we should have been in this football playoff, and they absolutely should have. They were dominant this season and deserve to be in that just as everybody else did. I personally think Florida State should not have been in it, and I was kind of right about that, but we'll move on from that.
Ooh.
I think it would be extremely beneficial for the College Football Playoff Committee to expand this. Why not? Put in more teams, okay? It's more money for the league. Why not? You're going to get so much more money off of this. And it's fun. The fans love it. And I think starting off with 4 was the right way to go, but we've already had our trial run. We see how it is. And, I mean, if I was TCU, I'm offended right now because now they're ranked 3rd in the postseason, which is, I mean, they were insulted by the playoff committee. And I see this going, expanding to like 6 games at least. 6 teams. It's just something to get more teams in it because picking top 4 out of college football, especially this past year, that was not an easy job. Not an easy job at all.
How the hell are you supposed to expand to 6 teams, though? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
You would have to have the bye, and then how are you going to pick who's having the bye? Florida State,
I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just saying if they're reluctant to expand to 8, then expand it to 6. I don't care what they expand it to.
Let's move on. Armand looks like he wants to talk, so we'll let him go.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, 45-second time limit. But anyways, I actually do agree. I don't agree with the 6 teams. I think it should expand to 8 or perhaps even become similar to the NFL playoff where the top teams get byes and then they play the next round. But I think college football made a very big and very good step in coming up with the college football playoffs. People have been asking for that for years. It was very exciting. The first college football national championship was a game that shocked us all. It was a very, very intriguing football game. I think that there are more changes to be made. I believe it should be 8 to 12 teams because there are a lot of teams this year who were deserving, as Jill said, TCU, Baylor. There are a lot of different teams who I believe deserve to be in the college football playoffs who weren't in there. So I think that an expansion should happen. I don't know if it'll happen within the next season, but in the next 2 or 3 seasons, they should definitely make it a bigger playing field, and it'll be very, very exciting.
All right, good points. Anthony?
Essentially, if you expand it to 8 teams, at the same time, you have to think of how much longer that's going to take. You have your full season along with another potential 8-9 weeks. That takes you another 2 months. A lot of programs aren't. That's the reason why the first time it's not 8, and I think they're going to keep it at 4. One, because the people who select the top teams in the country, they get paid for a reason. They know what they're talking about. They may get a few wrong here and there, but they get paid to do this. And when they rank the teams, I think their rankings are accurate. And I think the 4 teams made college football for me a lot more exciting because I was never really into all the top 2 teams play. But they added a playoff system, which I think benefited everybody. Everybody liked it, but as in terms of fans. But I don't see them expanding it to 8 or 6 or anything. I think they stay at 4.
All right, thank you for your thoughts. Now, Anthony.
Well, like Jill said, I don't know what they should do. I'm not, and like Anthony said, I agree with him too. They know what they're talking about. I'm not in that position, obviously, because I'm not as experienced as them. So I'm not going to tell them what they need to do. But in my opinion, there's flaws in the system. When you had those first 4 teams in the playoffs, that was great. It was exciting. It was the first step. Now they need to take more steps to make it more accurate. Because when you look at teams such as my school, Boise State, we're automatically going to be in the Fiesta Bowl every year because a non-major conference team gets into a major bowl. When you look at teams in lower conferences that actually should be, you're never going to know if they will make the playoffs because they are not playing as good of competition as the SEC. And it actually hurts the SEC because they are playing better competition, so none of them will go undefeated. What if you have 4 teams that are undefeated in different division and then the SEC all beat up on each other? There's no way you can know which team's better.
All right, good point. But now with the end of the first round, our leaderboard at the end of the first round, Armand is in the lead, tied with Anthony at 9. Jill is at 8, and with the upset of the year, the champ is out. The champ goes down with only 7. Goodbye, champ.
Peace.
Moving on. Now on to round 2. College basketball is the topic, and I want to know, can Kentucky go undefeated? Anthony, give me your thoughts.
Kentucky can absolutely go undefeated. If you look at their team from last year that made it all the way to the finals and faced Connecticut, they have their core players are still relatively there. You still have the Harrison twins running the 1 and the 2, and you got arguably the second best big man in all of high schools in Anthony Towns or Carl Towns. I'm sorry. And
Number 1.
Willie Cauley-Stein is a great defensive big man, and they're like twin towers in the paint. They're like 6'11" and 7 foot, and their depth, they can play legitimately all their players, and they're all good. And I just don't see them losing. I just don't.
Good point. Armand?
Yeah, I mean, every single college basketball season, there's always that one standout team where you're like, oh, they're going to go win the championship. Oh, they're going to go undefeated. And they don't. But I think this year it's just a completely different season with that one team. I think Kentucky can absolutely go undefeated. I'd be very shocked to see them lose to anybody, even whoever the number 2 team is. I don't really care. Because regardless, I know Kentucky's going to end up winning the national championship. There's no doubt in my mind. But yeah, undefeated, very, very strong possibility for them. I mean, defensively, they're unstoppable. Offensively, they're unstoppable. As Anthony said, all the players he listed, they're just a great team with a great coach. I really don't see any competition for them.
I mean, I'm going to say what everybody else is saying. They're a great team. They're going to be hard to beat. I mean, quite possibly could go undefeated. I know when Texas played Kentucky, I was just in shock by how strong they are on the defensive end. And, I mean, that's what it takes. They know how to play man-to-man coverage, and they will make you turn over that ball, miss that shot clock, something. They are so good on defense. Personally, I think it would be more beneficial to them if they did get a loss in before the tournament. I mean, it psychs you out to go undefeated. I know last year with Syracuse, the whole, are they going to be undefeated? It psyched them out. Sorry, Jake. I know that's a personal thing right there. But it's hard, and it's a mental thing, especially knowing. I mean, whether or not a coach cares about being undefeated, it's still on the media. It's still on your Twitter. It's still on everything. I mean, it psychs you out. It could help them to get a loss out of the way. I think they are the best team in college basketball, and they deserve that title. Easily could win the national championship, but we don't need to worry about being undefeated. If they lose a game, they lose a game, and that's okay because they're still the best team in college basketball.
All right. Yeah, good points, good points. So at the end of that, we are at Armand is at 12, Anthony's at 12, and Jill is at 11. Now, on to Mayweather versus Pacquiao. I have no idea whether this is happening or not. This is just no one knows, I don't think. Do any of you know whether this is actually going to happen? Armand.
I do think at some point it's going to happen. I think what Floyd Mayweather has done in being wishy-washy about wanting to fight Pacquiao, he's trying to get more money for it, and it's a smart game plan. He's called Money Mayweather for a reason. All he cares about is money and success. So he's going to keep drawing this out, try to get more hype for it. Pacquiao's ready. Pacquiao has expressed the fact that he's ready. I'm positive Mayweather's ready. Mayweather's possibly the best fighter in the world. He's undefeated. So I completely think the fight is going to happen at some point because I think that Mayweather's last fight to really prove himself as the best fighter in the world is knocking Pacquiao out. So the fight is going to happen. They just want more money for it. It's going to be one of the hype sporting events in the history of sports in the universe ever. But Mayweather wants more money for it. So, but it's going to happen.
All right.
I personally think that Mayweather is playing this game with Pacquiao. Pacquiao has been ready for like 4 years and always willing to fight, and Mayweather has always been the one to push it back. Eventually, and through time, Pacquiao's just gonna get tired of the hype, and I feel like it's not gonna happen on May 2nd. I don't think there's gonna be a fight on May 2nd. I think Mayweather's not gonna sign his side of the contract, and they're just gonna drag it out even more. Yeah, drawing more money in for the fight itself, but Pacquiao is going to get worn down, and he's just not going to want to fight him. He's not going to want to take the time anymore to prepare for him because he's been ready for so long. You can only be ready for so long, and Pacquiao's been ready 3-4 years, and now that he's getting tired of this. He doesn't want to play this cat and mouse game.
All right, Jill?
Okay, I disagree with what Armand said, that this would be the most hyped up sporting event, because it would have been a few years ago. Pacquiao is not in his prime anymore, and I mean, it's a known fact. He is not the fighter he used to be. Still a great fighter, obviously, but not what he used to be. If this fight had taken place, like Anthony said, when Pacquiao was originally ready 3-4 years ago, it would have been incredible. But they're not the same people right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Mayweather never signed that contract. Because Pacquiao signed it, I know he's ready, and it's not. We know Mayweather loves his money, but he has so much. Is it really about the money? I mean, Pacquiao called him out on Twitter, said, "If you're in this for you, you won't fight me. If you're in it for the fans, you will." That's supposed to like push Mayweather to fight, but it won't, because Mayweather's the first to admit that he's selfish, that he's all about himself. We know this about him. It's what we love and what we hate about him. Will he feel pressure to fight Pacquiao because of this? No, he's going to do what he wants. And I wouldn't be surprised if he never fought him, because he wants to beat someone easy so he can end his career undefeated. And, I mean, that's what he's going to do. It may not be against Pacquiao, because Pacquiao is the only person who has a chance to beat him.
All right. Well, at the end of this round, those were all some great arguments. But at the end of this round, we're saying bye-bye to Jill.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Jill, but... we'll see you later. On to the next round. NBA Finals predictions. I want to hear what you think about the East and the West. Who's coming out? Anthony.
Okay. Eastern Conference, I'm still a little iffy about it, because I know in my heart, once the Cavaliers' offense gets going, there's no team in the East that's going to be able to stop them. Absolutely no team. Once that offense gets gelling, that's it. So I think Eastern Conference Finals is going to be Bulls-Cavs, and I think in a 7-game series, the Bulls are going to come out of that because of their depth, because they can go 12 deep. I see the Bulls in the finals, and on the West, I see if the Thunder can squeeze in at a 6, 7, or 8, I have a strong feeling they're going to win. They're going to win that West, because they can easily knock out one of those top 4 teams in a 7-game series, because they arguably have two of the best. They have two of the top 10 best players in the NBA. And their offense is just unreal. They can give it to either one of those guys, and there's a high chance they're just going to put up points. And so in the end, I feel Thunder Bulls.
All right, Armand, save me. I want to hear something about the Hawks.
Unfortunately, I cannot give you that. I think the Hawks are doing phenomenally this season, but I think that it's a lot of momentum. It's a lot of hype. They have great players, don't get me wrong, but I don't see them beating the Cavaliers or the Bulls in the 7-game series in the playoffs. I think that they have a lot to work with for the future, but this is not their season. I think that the Cavs just have way too much firepower not to go to the East Finals. The Bulls are just a great defensive team, and as Anthony said, I could see them both in the East Finals. I'm going to have to disagree and say the Cavs would win that series and go to the NBA Finals out of the East. Out of the West, I'm going to have to agree with him and say that OKC would go if they can squeeze a playoff spot. I think the Warriors are complete regular season hype. We've seen them crumble in the playoffs the past couple seasons. They're a great team as well, don't get me wrong.
Oh.
But if I were to go with teams from the West, I would have to say either OKC, and I'm going to have to surprise people and say the Memphis Grizzlies. I think that they have a very great defensive team. They're a very solid playoff team, and I think they could do a lot of damage in the playoffs.
All right, at the end of this round, Armand, you got 1 point. Anthony, you got none.
Wow. Okay.
Now, moving on to Kobe. I want to hear Kobe. I'm sorry Jill does not get to speak her words on Kobe. Armand, what's next?
Kobe is one of the most fierce competitors to ever play any sport. Kobe, in Kobe's heart, I know he wants to be on the court next season after another season-ending injury. I think it'd be in his best interest to retire, and I think that Kobe is starting to realize this. Clearly, his body is wearing down. I mean, he's been injured more than he's been playing these past couple seasons. And I feel that Kobe is trying to chase that 6th ring to Ty Jordan, but it's not going to happen with the team he has right now. I think that it's time for the Lakers to move in a different direction, and I think that would start with Kobe retiring. So I think that he is going to end up retiring. He's not going to be back next season. He'll probably wrestle with the decision for a bit, but I think he has to think about his body. Like, his body is clearly just not it's not fit to be playing 82 games of basketball anymore. So I think that it's time for Kobe to hang it up, and I think that ultimately he will.
Anthony?
Yeah, Kobe. There's nothing Kobe can do from now until when his contract expires that's going to show us that he isn't a fierce competitor, that he isn't like he's a fierce, as Armand said, fierce competitor, great leader, great scorer, great basketball player overall. Nothing can compensate what he in his heart, yeah, he wants to play, but up here he knows that his body, he can't take it anymore, and essentially it's gonna be a hard battle for him to tell himself that he's gonna hang up his own jersey and never play basketball again. But essentially it's gonna get done, and it has to get done.
All right. Well, going into our final topic, we are tied at 17-17. Let's hear what you both think about the MVP candidates. Because this is Armand's show, he will get to go second. So, Anthony, what do you think?
Okay, now am I giving you who I think should win MVP or my list?
I want to hear who you think is going to win the MVP.
All right, who I think is going to win the MVP? James Harden. James Harden has proved from last season, or actually no, as soon as he went to the Rockets, he showed that he can be a superstar, and he's been proving that. And now he's just, you cannot guard James Harden. You can put any defender you want onto James Harden, and he's gonna score. He's gonna put up 30 points a game. He'll probably finish the season averaging maybe 28, 29 points, but very close to 30. But at a close second, although their record is going to be not bad, but not comparing to what the Rockets' record would be, Anthony Davis. Just look at the Pelicans aren't that good, but look at his stat line. If you want to talk about, put all the records aside and look at his stats, Anthony Davis is MVP. I don't care. Anthony Davis is an MVP, minus the record, minus the team. And then in the third, I have Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is just Steph Curry.
All right, Armand, hit me.
I'm going to have to agree with Anthony on James Harden and Anthony Davis. James Harden is playing phenomenally this season. I think that he is the best player on the Rockets. That is his team. Some people would say it's Dwight Howard's team. Nope. It's Harden. Harden has proven that he's a superstar in this league. Everyone thought that he lived in Durant and Westbrook's shadow. He got out of that shadow and proved he could lead a team on his own. I'm interested to see if he can lead them to a ring, but that's not the discussion right now. Second, I would have to put Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook returned to OKC before Kevin Durant did, and I think Russell Westbrook's been playing better than KD has this season. Russell Westbrook's numbers, he's put up multiple triple-doubles. He's increased his assists and rebounds per game. I think that he's playing phenomenally, and he's really stepped it up. Third, I will put Anthony Davis, just based off of the Pelicans' record. The Pelicans are ninth seed, meaning they wouldn't be in the playoffs if the season ended right now. So and they have an above 500 record, but Anthony Davis has been playing phenomenally. Lots of scoring great, rebounding great, defending great. I think that he's ultimately going to be one of the best players in the NBA in another season or two, but he would definitely be third on my list.
All right. At the end of this set of Around the Horn, with the final score of 19, our winner is Anthony.
Hey!
Now, Anthony, talk to us.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank everybody who wanted me on the show. Essentially, should have been scared knowing I was coming on because I was gonna win. But I kept the small mouth until I actually won. But let me tell you something. Anthony Davis is GOAT. He's gonna be GOAT for the next 10 years. Nobody's gonna stop him. Steph Curry, GOAT, best shooter. Another thing, Kyle Korver, definitely all-star game. This man is approaching a 50, 50, and 90 season, which the greatest shooters have. I want you to think about the greatest shooters in your head and tell me how many of them had a 50, 50, 90 season. Barely any of them. Kyle Korver is a great shooter and he is the best shooter in the NBA right now. And that's all I have to say.
All right, now Armand and Jill, wrap us up.
All right.
Um,
No. You're gonna let me go because I got robbed.
Shut up. I'm talking. Thank you.
I got robbed.
Jill, you go.
Thank you.
Man.
I just want to say I got robbed, and y'all would have heard a way better discussion had I been left in. But we'll talk about my finals predictions for another game or another episode, and who I think will win the MVP. I'm not even gonna try to argue this right now because Armand knows he will get all of this ranting next week. Congrats, Anthony. All right, congrats,
Thank you.
Jake. As we said to Ron, after last time, you are fired. You will not be the host of Around the Horn ever again. We got to find somebody else who gives me the win. Until then, see you never, Jake.
Jake, I have absolutely no problem with the way you hosted. I
Because
think
you lost first round last time.
bye. It's my turn to talk. Thank you. Anthony,
Bye.
Anthony, you did a phenomenal job. There's something about bringing Anthony's on Around the Horn. Anthony's always win this thing. It's crazy.
Jill got muted. Good move.
I definitely want to thank you guys for joining us. It was another fun episode. Thank the fans for watching episode 50. Episode 52 is coming up in 2 weeks. That'll be our year anniversary of Second Take. Big time. But yeah, thank Jake for hosting. Thank the Anthony's, the light skin delegation for joining us. If no one else has anything to say, then we'll see you guys next week.